Now we've created a system where it's almost impossible for people to be able to live on their own without government assistance because we have taken away so many means of people's livelihood. My best friend has been out of work since really since it started because she worked at a theater, so they shut down. I mean, other theaters have reopened since, but the one she works at in particular has been shut down since March. So she's been out of work for 10 months, and she's a full time student. So how do we resolve the dilemma of people that don't that can't go back to work, that want to go back to work, and then dole that out against the people that are more than capable of going back to work but choose not to because they are getting all this money from the government.
Yeah, I think we've created two underclasses right now, and this is just, I mean, this is the typical government problem of unintended consequences, right? We've created one group of people that's like, well, I can make a similar amount of money without working as I could have when I was working. So why go back to work, or
Exactly.
or why beat the pavement, pound the pavement and find myself another job? So we've created this underclass of kind of dependent people. And then on the other side of it, it's like, I don't want government subsidies going to private corporations to keep them alive, because let's just take the AMC movie theater chain. If AMC doesn't have good corporate governance, if they don't have good financial reserves, if they don't have a good product, if people choose not to go to the movies anymore, I want AMC to fail, because that's what corporations are supposed to do. Businesses are supposed to fail if people aren't using their products. And I don't want the government picking winners and losers and coming in and giving AMC theaters $5 billion to stay afloat. But at the same time, I also don't think the government should have been able to tell AMC theaters that you have to shut down and you can't sell your product. So it's like, we have government as the problem, and then they become the solution, and then their solution becomes a problem, so then they have to become the solution. And when does it stop? So where would the libertarian, if we could wave a magic wand and Joe Jorgensen was president tomorrow, which, God, wouldn't that be awesome? If we could wave a magic wand and the Libertarian Party was a viable party and they got some elected officials, what would the Libertarian solution be to this? Government creates a solution that creates another problem. Now they gotta fund another solution, which creates another problem. Like, where do libertarians start if we could magically infiltrate the government?
We'll see. Again, yeah, government being a problem and solution is very problematic because government hardly ever is a solution, but it would certainly like to believe it is. Government intrinsically is a problem, and then it is the only mechanism to solve the problems that it creates. But if for a libertarian, they would say, I mean, as controversial as it may be, just to say, okay, let's just open it back up. You people are expected to take care of yourselves. If you're waiting for the government to take care of you, that's just irresponsible. I mean, for adults that are, for working age people, you should be more than capable of doing things for yourself. And obviously, there are extraneous circumstances where that isn't the case, where, yes, the government is a necessary tool for individuals that don't have the capacity to support themselves. But at the same time, it is not the government's job to save you from yourself. I mean, that's one of the reasons I hate seatbelt laws and hate marijuana laws, or any drug law, really. It's the government is not there to save you from yourself. It's merely a tool to, going back to like John Locke and the classical liberals, it's a tool to mediate and keep individuals from infringing upon one another's individual liberties. And if it does anything more than that, then that's a problem. So take government entirely out of the equation. That's the solution.
Yeah, that's interesting. And of course, a lot of people would push back and say, well, without the government, do we end up having Operation Warp Speed and creating a vaccine in record time of 10 months, 11 months, however quickly it was created? And I think the answer for most libertarians would be like, well, yeah, there will be a private company that will step in for a profitable reason and create the vaccine in 6 months or 5 months, or get rid of the FDA, and maybe the vaccine was created in 2 months. I don't know that I would want to take a vaccine that was created in 2 months, but the FDA might have been an impediment to getting this solved faster. So when we talk like this, I think there's the temptation for anybody that would disagree with us to just say, oh, well, Tyler and Scott are heartless, right? So because we don't want the government to step in and be the nanny state, and we don't want them to solve everybody's problems. And that could very much lend itself to like, well, these people are heartless. They don't understand. They don't care about their fellow man. They don't want the government to help anybody. Where do you think maybe we go one of two directions. Where do you think is the government's role to help or subsidize or protect? And then where does the libertarian take care of their common man? Maybe talk to either one of those.
Well, I think for a libertarian, not necessarily the government is intrinsically evil. I think at the local level, small government, what Republicans would tout, they say is important to them, small government. I think it's possible to keep small local government as a mechanism to care for one another in a way that is fiscally responsible, because those are the institutions that have much fewer means and rely a lot on public support and public donation and public investment and the interaction of people with one another to be able to continue society. It's not necessarily that all government is bad. It's that the federal government and the federal bureaucracy is a bloated uh, expense that doesn't create any solutions to the problems it creates. It's if we think smaller and not expect everyone in DC to solve our problems, we'll be better off. It's that you should have an avenue to people that to be able to solve these problems. And that doesn't necessarily mean the people that are in government, but even, your neighbors. There was a time when being neighborly and helping one another was touted, but now everyone's isolated and afraid of each other. And we run to the government for help. And that's terrifying, because that should not be the case. It should be the opposite. We should want as little government as possible, because they are the institution. They are the establishment with the only establishment with the capacity to kill people legally. Why would I want more of that?
Yeah.
I don't, but that's what we defer to.
Yeah, that's interesting. The being neighborly, the pushing. I think this is like a tenet of the libertarian mindset is as much as possible push down to the lowest level possible, right?